Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Government House. My name is Hugh Borroman. I have the honour to be the official secretary to Her Excellency the Governor, and I'll be the Master of Ceremonies today. This is the fourth of 6 ceremonies to present Australian honours, most of which were announced on the Queen's birthday in June, and which now take place in the shadow of her sad passing. The official party today is Mr Lee Odenwalder MP, the Member for Elizabeth, representing the Premier, the Honourable Stephen Wade, MLC, representing the Leader of the Opposition, Lieutenant Commander Benjamin Robinson, RAN, representing the Commanding Officer, HMAS Encounter, Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Spackman, representing the Army Area Representative, South Australia, Group Captain David Banham, representing the Senior Australian Defence Force Officer, Edinburgh, and the Assistant Commissioner Linda Fellows, APM, representing the Commissioner of Police. I should also like to acknowledge Mr Vincent Tarzia, MP, the Member for Hartley. If you are able, please be upstanding for the arrival of Her Excellency the Governor, and please remain standing for the Vice-Regal salute and 1 minute's silence. Please be seated.
Gana bogana aile, gana miana aile, yaicha miana aile, kumatana yartananku. I acknowledge that we're meeting this morning on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and I pay my respects to the elders. Good morning, everyone. We've just observed a minute's silence in honour and remembrance of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Elsewhere in Government House, members of the public are signing condolence books and in the gardens laying floral tributes. We give thanks for Her Majesty's lifetime of service, and we remember too that she was devoted to the recognition of service in others. And that's what we're doing today through this investiture ceremony for recipients in the Order of Australia. We honour you, and I want to also acknowledge and thank again Mr Lee Odenwalder MP, who's representing the Premier, the Honourable Stephen Wade, who's representing the Leader of the Opposition, and the service chiefs behind me, representing Army, Navy, Air Force and South Australian Police. Awards in the Order of Australia are made twice yearly, on our National Day, Australia Day, and for as long as we can remember, on what we've called the Queen's Birthday holiday. So recipients this week will be the last recipients of honours announced on the Queen's Birthday holiday, and we'll look forward to welcoming future recipients announced, no doubt, on what will take a little bit of getting used to, the King's birthday. Awards in the Order of Australia are made in recognition of outstanding service and exceptional achievement. And as you listen today to the citations, not just of the person you're here to support, but of everyone who is here, you'll come to realise what extraordinary service they've given. It's extraordinary in another way too, because typically recipients do not seek recognition. In fact, they are often very surprised, even though they have an inkling often shortly beforehand, to see their names on the honours list. So I congratulate you all. I thank you for your outstanding service and your exceptional achievement. I would like to make the point also, though, that you are here today, we're all here today, because another Australian saw in them something special that was worthy of recognition. And I encourage you all in future not to be backward about nominating other people. There are many Australians, including here in South Australia, who are worthy of that recognition. And just a final word to those of you who are here in support. In many cases, the support that you have given has enabled the service that we're acknowledging today. You're typically the people they love most or feel have supported them most. Some of you will be at Government House for the first time today. Rod and I have always regarded Government House as a house for all South Australians. We very much want you to feel welcome here and comfortable today. So with that, Official Secretary, let's begin, shall we?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, the following appointments to Member of the Order of Australia in the General Division have been made. Mr. Peter James de Cure is recognised for significant service to the community of South Australia through a range of roles. Mr. de Cure is a dedicated supporter of Variety SA. He's been a director of the children's charity since 2007, chair from 2009 to 2011, and national director from 2010 to 2011. He is currently a member of the charity's Appeals Grants Committee, Governance and Audit Committee, and Variety Bash Organising Committee. Mr. de Cure is also heavily involved in the Royal Flying Doctor Service Central Operations and has been a director since 2018, former treasurer, and is now chair. As well as his commitment to Variety and the Flying Doctor, he is former non-executive director of the Australian American Fulbright Commission and former chair of Campion Education Australia. Widely known for his entrepreneurial expertise and strategic thinking alongside a warm personality, Mr. de Cure is also a member of the Remuneration Tribunal of South Australia, Director of the South Australian Fire and Emergency Services Commission, and Independent Chair of the South Australian Fire Emergency and Services Commission since 2021. Mr. Peter James de Cure. Mr. Geoffrey Roy Ellison is recognised for significant service to the tourism industry and to the community. Mr. Ellison has devoted his working life to tourism and transport, with 30 years as Managing Director, Chief Financial Officer and Chairman of one of Australia's most iconic travel brands, SeaLink Group. The milestone of his career was the journey taking SeaLink to the Australian Securities Exchange. Mr. Ellison is a Deputy Chair of Tourism Australia and served on the board of the South Australian Tourism Commission, the Tourism and Transport Forum Australia, and the Adelaide Convention Centre. Inextricably linked to tourism, his accolades include SA Tourism Award for Outstanding Contribution by an Individual, Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year for the Central Region, and the University of South Australia's Lifetime Contribution to the South Australian Tourism Economy. Mr. Ellison is a Fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants and the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Mr. Geoffrey Roy Ellison. Dr. Susan Marsden is recognised for significant service to history and heritage as an author, academic and speaker. Dr. Marsden is a professional historian who works all over Australia as a consultant and oral history interviewer. Dedicated to exploring and preserving South Australia's past, she is a member of the South Australian State Records, the National Trust of South Australia, and the Professional Historians Association of South Australia. She is also involved in national groups, including the Australian Historical Association, Australian Memory of the World and the Australian Garden History Society, and is a former oral historian at the National Library of Australia. Dr. Marsden's voice and writing are well known as ABC Radio's history presenter and as the author of dozens of books in heritage studies. In 2013, Dr. Marsden and her husband co-founded the Marsden Swatchboard Foundation, a charitable organisation that supports literature, particularly history writing. Their foundation recently funded the development of materials to help people record their family history while at home during the pandemic. Dr. Susan Marsden. Your Excellency, the Medal in the Order of Australia has been awarded to the following recipients. The Reverend Dr. Christopher Carl Aiken is recognised for significant service to the community through chaplaincy roles. The Reverend Dr. Aiken served as a pastor in the Adelaide suburbs for 25 years, advocating for services for youth and the underprivileged. An active community member outside of church, he helped to launch the West Torrens Mobile Library Service and Plimpton Community Youth Support Scheme. Reverend Dr. Aiken went where the community needed his pastoral work the most, spending nearly 18 years as senior chaplain at the Women's and Children's Hospital, where he co-developed the bereavement policy and contributed to the Human Research Committee. During this period, he also served as chaplain in the Army Reserves for 25 years, for which he was awarded an Australia Day medallion. Following a deployment to Pakistan and the Middle East to assist the earthquake relief team, he continues his chaplaincy as Force Level Logistics Asset. He continued his chaplaincy at the Force Level Logistics Asset level in Kuwait. The Reverend Dr. Christopher Carl Aiken. Mr. John William Batley is recognised for service to youth and to the community of Adelaide. Mr. Batley has dedicated decades of his life to the Catholic Church and Scouts SA. He joined the Scouts in 1965 as a leader, going on to found the first Air Scout troop in Australia in 1974. Passionate about improving the lives of young people, he worked at jamborees across the country and in 1981 won the Scouts SA Medal of Merit. A community man, Mr. Batley formed the St. John the Baptist Youth Group, a weekly meetup where local kids learned leadership skills under his watchful eye. Decades on, his involvement continues as a member of a men's shed, a weekly gathering for senior citizens to stay connected. An avid volunteer, Mr. Batley has positively affected the lives of hundreds of young Adelaideans, as well as those of his own 11 grandchildren. Mr. John William Batley. Mr. Stanley Leonard Batten is recognised for service to the community through a range of roles. From Scouts to counselling, banking and politics, Mr. Batten has gained immense satisfaction from his varied contributions to the community. To help a young person move forward and see them prosper has been the driving force behind his decades of volunteering. For 21 years, Mr. Batten worked with Scouts SA and is the recipient of a Medal of Merit. Through family and youth services and the Adelaide Central Mission, he helped hundreds of foster children and families who faced great challenges. His philanthropic efforts led to a desire to instigate change politically, and he has been involved in United Australia, the Australian Independence Alliance, and the Citizens-Initiated Referendum for SA. Mr. Batten is also the Treasurer and past Secretary of the ANZ Bank Retired Officers Club of South Australia. Mr. Stanley Leonard Batten. Mr. Graham Botting is recognised for his service to the community of Hallett Cove. Suburbs become thriving communities because of leaders like Mr. Botting. For more than 40 years, he has dedicated his time to making Hallett Cove a wonderful place to live. He has been Vice President of the Hallett Cove Lions Club and has also held roles in administration and events that have led to a string of awards. He was instrumental in the construction of the local war memorial and in the planning of the Hallett Cove Dawn service after local veterans expressed that they had nowhere to pay their respects. Today, the event attracts 4,000 people each year. In his 46 years as a local, Mr. Botting has been involved in a range of community organisations and events, including the Apex Club, the Cove Sports and Community Club, Safety House Hallett Cove, the Happy Valley Scout Group Fundraising Committee, and the Australian Bicentennial Beacon. In 2020, he added a new award to his list of accolades, the Marion City Council's Citizen of the Year. Mr. Graham Botting. Mr. Michael James Miller is recognised for service to the community through Lions International. Mr. Miller first joined the Lions Club of Kingscote in 1971, transferring to the Noarlunga Morphett Vale Club in 1974. Since that time, the now retired police officer has held senior positions including President, Secretary and Treasurer, and has been a life member of the club since 1995. Mr. Miller has also been heavily involved in Lions Australia District 201C2, including as District Governor from 2003 to 4, and as Chair of the Lions Club International Foundation, District 201C2, from 2004 to 5. His crowning achievement with Lions was the hugely successful worldwide Sight First 2 campaign, which raised US $200 million for preventable eye disease. During his time with the Lions, he has received numerous awards, including 3 Melbourne Joan Fellowships, a District Governor Star Medal, and Campaign Sight First 2 recognition for Outstanding Service Award. Mr. Miller's time in the police force was recognised in 2016 when he was awarded a National Police Service Medal. Mr. Michael James Miller. Mrs. Maria Rosaria Tazia is recognised for service to charitable organisations. Mrs. Tazia's drive and determination to improve breast cancer awareness and care started a year after herself receiving treatment for the condition. Since its inception 18 years ago, Mrs. Tazia's foundation, called Faith, Hope, Charity, has raised more than $1 million for medical research and amenities to improve patient care in South Australia. The funds have contributed to programs and equipment at the Royal Adelaide Hospital and the Hanson Institute and Research Fund. Mrs. Tazia's outstanding fundraising endeavours have helped to establish a part-time breast care nurse for the Royal Adelaide Hospital Women's Healthcare Centre and a real-time PCR machine for the hospital's breast cancer research group. She has also helped to purchase a vein assessment instrument and tattoo device to assist surgeons with the final stages of breast reconstruction. In 2015, Mrs. Tazia's charity teamed with the Dreamin Foundation to help raise funds to construct vocational holiday accommodation for women with breast cancer and their families. Mrs. Maria Rosaria Tazia. Mr. Jeffrey Ronald Wilson is recognised for service to the visual arts. Mr. Wilson is a highly respected South Australian artist and art educator who is still painting at the age of 95. Known for capturing his love of nature and documenting the elements of the rural environment, the landscapes, farm sheds, old factories, fence lines and once used equipment, he would often paint en plein air alongside fellow artists Geoffrey Smart, David Dulwitz and David Dryden. He has had an enormous creative influence on several generations of art students during his time as a teacher in the South Australian Department for Education and as lecturer and head of painting at the South Australian School of Art. Mr. Wilson still exhibits and donates his work to charity, in particular as a foundation member of the Friends of the South Australian School of Art, raising funds for student scholarships at the University of South Australia. His art has featured in exhibitions, books, catalogues, articles in newspapers and magazines, and in collections, including the Art Gallery of South Australia. His awards include the Maud Bizard Art Prize and the Fleurieu Art Prize. Mr. Jeffrey Ronald Wilson. Your Excellency, that concludes the presentations for this morning.